Good day, collectors and viewers. Social Distance Warrior is back with video number 7. This time we're going to focus on a bounty hunter, robotic bounty hunter robot, IG-88. So IG-88 made his debut back in Empire Strikes Back. He came out in the Empire Strikes Back line way back in 1980. So we're actually going to go back to 40th anniversary this year for Empire Strikes Back. And, you know, he's gone through some alterations over the years. So back in 1980, first figure that came out would be this guy over here. So it stands up today. Great looking figure. He's got his, black painted bandolier on there. Came with his pistol and his rifle. And he just looked, menacing on screen. Always wondered, what's the story behind this guy? There's actually a bounty hunter and he's a robot. How cool is that? So the head turns around back and forth. We look at him from the side. You can kind of see his arms are kind of bent in a pose already in there. And you can, swivel back and forth, up and down. Feet as well. He's got the little pegs underneath too. So you can stand him. He stands very, very well on his own. That's what he looks like from the back. And I always used to wonder with this guy, which side is the front of his head? Which side is the back? Because when I look at the picture on the box art, he's got the little post or pipe sticking out of his head on this side, and it wasn't here, but it's on this side here. But if I turn this around, he doesn't have any eyes in the front. He's got a plain back, so we'll call this the front for sure, and we're going to assume that's his eyes. So very great looking figure. Stands up amazingly after 40 years. Very good metallic paint job on this guy. And we wouldn't see him again. Of course, he'd go through, again, all 3 waves of Star Wars. Not Star Wars. Through Empire and through Return of the Jedi. And then we wouldn't see him again until the Power of the Force 2 line came out. Now, unlike the original, Kenner versions, once he got to Power of the Force 2, he never actually got a card back. He never came out on a card back. All the figures did. He was one of the ones that didn't. He came out in an exclusive, a 2-pack with Boba Fett. So they ran that promotion for Shadows of the Empire. Came with a comic, and it came with a slightly resculpted Boba Fett. But it came with IG-88 for the first time, which was great. And that'll be this figure over here. So IG-88, came with his blaster rifle. Definitely a different look on the character. Bandolier comes across there. Bandolier is not black on this one. They went with a gray. They try to make it a little more movie accurate. But something just seems off on this guy in regards to the paint applications. So they tried to do some coloring on there, but it doesn't have a metallic look. And because of that, he kind of looks cheaper than the original one. If I stand them, side by side here, you can see one is a nice shiny, silvery color. One is a lot duller. And the head's smaller too. So they made the head adjusted as well. So you can, swivel it back and forth. They did try to put some, paint job there. But it's almost like when they do 2-packs, Hasbro, they cheap out a little bit paint-wise. They did add a swivel on the waist there, which was a nice little addition. But he definitely feels a lot flimsier than that original version figure. And, that's what he looks like front and back. So that would have been 97, 96, 97, late 96 probably. 97 with that 2-pack with Boba Fett. And then the next time we see IG-88's in the Power of the Jedi line. So in 2000, once episode 1 was done, they switched to the, Universal line again, Power of the Jedi. He came out again. Now, if you'll notice a trend here with IG-88, it's kind of shrinking. See? So he goes, from the original one to this guy, he's kind of the same height, but he's shrinking in size. He's not as thick there. He's very thin. And then this one's a little bit smaller again, but more detail than that version that we got in the Power of the Force 2 line. So separate bandolier, which is really neat. A nice little, addition there. And of course, a lot more detail on the head. And there's articulation here as well. So you can actually turn that piece separately than, from the neck joint there, which is stationary. So that part turns there. So it's a nice little feature. Adds a little bit of depth by having that articulated there. So bandolier strap there, and then they've raised where the waist swivel is, so it's up near the chest, but that still does move back and forth. The arms, up and down, legs, again, he he's a little bit shorter. You can see he's a little bit shorter in height than the, Power of the Force 2 one. But the head's a little bit bigger, so it kind of gives him more of a bulky look. At the time, I didn't really notice. I did pick him up again, but I didn't really notice that there was that much difference other than the bandolier. When I put them side by side, I can see there is. But again, the color is a little bit off. It's more plasticky than metal looking. Some of the stuff looks metal, but then they tried to go with a really rusted look on there. Paint applications were getting better by Hasbro. They were trying to make it more detailed, which was nice. But that would have been IG-88 in 2000. And then the next time we see him, we're going to get an ultimate version of him. So Vintage Original Trilogy Collection line comes out in 2007 with an Empire Strikes Back wave. Almost entirely Empire Strikes Back again. And then we get our definitive version of IG-88. So this thing is just phenomenal. Lots of articulation. The arms go up and down. You can twist them here, side to side. He does have, bendable elbows there. You can bend the elbows. And he's got a little support coming underneath his hands there to help hold the gun and the blaster and the rifle in this regard on both sides. So a nice addition there. That bandolier, again, is separate. There's a lot more paint job on this guy here as well. The wires, they all run separately on there too. The knees bend on this guy here. He also has, you can even bend his ankle, his feet there. They went all out on this guy, and he stands very, very solid. So when you stand him up there, he's not going anywhere. He's standing solid. We turn around to the back, and then we'll notice, oh, wow, they've added an extra feature. They've added a slot to put the rifle in. Now, the rifle doesn't sit really good in there. You can try to put it in. It doesn't sit very good. But nonetheless, they put a little feature on there, and they put this little sword or knife mechanism that he does have on his back as well, and that holds on the side there as well, which is a nice little feature. You're looking at him from the front, it gives him a lot of depth. It makes him look very, very mean looking. So this definitive version, he came on the vintage style card back. I guess the only thing that I can complain about, I'd like if they re-released him. So I'd have him on a card back. I don't have to pull him out of my blister. And anybody who's missed out on him can pick him up again. But definitely has more of that metallic look. If I compare him to the original guy here, you can see they both look metallic. The original one still is a little bit brighter in color, but all the detail on this guy and the weathering definitely makes him look superior in almost in every way, and a perfect sculpt. The articulation up there as well for this guy. And, he's got the articulation on right where the neck meets the shoulders and as well as the top. So you have full movement there on IG-88 and a definitive sculpt. We'd see one more version of IG-88 in 2014. Again, when Disney took over, they released these Mission Series 2-packs. And you can see, the standout version of IG-88 over here is this little small guy here. So, detail-wise on him, he's very detailed. He's very small for some reason. I'm not sure why they went with such a small look. He does come with his rifle. The bandolier is sculpted on. It's not removable. The head does turn, but doesn't turn up here, just at the bottom. It is detailed, but very, very tiny. But that's the last version that we saw him come out. Again, lots of details on here, just very small. And, it's almost like we're taking a step backwards. Once we got that definitive version of 2007, it's very, very hard to compare anything to that when it comes out. And it's smaller and it's inferior and it's got less articulation. So I hope that they re-release this guy. I don't know if they're kind of trying to rebrand and go with a smaller one to another audience, but you've got an existing audience. Make something that everybody wants. And that's this IG-88 over here. So the only other IG-88 I have to show you is a Black Series 6-inch. I wanted to show that one as well. I've been doing that with all the other videos too. So only complaint with this guy here is that, the legs are very, very stiff, but you can pose them. There's ways you can bend this guy to make him stand and give you dynamic poses, which is nice. That way you don't have to have him standing straight up and tipping over. But he's got almost all the articulation that the 3¾ inch one has. Mine seems like his rubber joint on the elbow there has cracked and come off, which is disappointing. I'm noticing that for the first time. So a little bit more wonky in that regard because they wanted to make it more realistic. But, the articulation is there on the head. He does have his, holster in the back for the for the rifle, and it does have that sword just like the 3 3/4 inch one does. 3 3/4 inch one, again, the leg positioning is better, so I find it, you know, standing wise, he looks a lot more menacing and look, and otherwise than just a standing straight pose like he's a mannequin. So that's IG-88. Those are all the versions that I have that have come out. There might be, you know, some battle pack ones that have slightly different paint jobs, but that's it in a nutshell. 1980 to present. Hope you guys enjoy the video. Like and subscribe if you do, and look forward to making more videos. Thanks so much for watching.